And of course, for us who haven't been in a junior basketball for so long, my last time coaching juniors was basically in 1998, when the president of my federation at this time was my under 16 national team player. So basically, when I start thinking what to discuss, I remember that upon my arrival in MZS Skopje, which is at this time, right now, the team that won 7 out of 8 last championships and probably would won the 9th this year. When I arrived there in 2011, it was a team with only 50 kids in the junior school. So at the same time, when we decided to try to build a strong first team to apply in Adriatic League, and we also decided to go through organization of this school of basketball. First idea that I got from one old coach who was at that time the chief of that school was to go to Belgrade to meet one of the biggest methodists of Yugoslavian basketball, Bora Cenic, who at that time had a clinic and was his friend. So basically we arranged to go to that clinic and to meet him after that. So we went to Belgrade, and it was a great clinic. What I'm really sorry that I couldn't find my notes from that clinic, but basically based on that clinic and what we talked after that, we made some rule book that we gave to every coach, and basically we run that school. I mean, they run that school, of course. I was more concerned with the first team based on that rule book. I managed to find that rule book yesterday. So based from that rule book, I translated something and I made some presentation that very soon I will put here. So basically we can go through those 25 rules that we let's say gave to our players, or stole from there and gave to our players, to our coaches. And we're going to discuss those 25 rules. And of course, I don't know if it's possible, but if you have a question about any of those rules, is it possible to get the questions immediately or to wait just for the end and then to get the question? That depends on whoever is organizing this from the opposite side of me. I mean, whoever has control of the microphone. So if it's possible, I can take any questions at any moment, but I don't know if it's possible. So just let me know. So, and yeah, the product of that school is that right now I have 5 players from MZ in my national team out of 12. The product of that is that MZ is the best, got the award for the best junior school in the past few years, including the last year. And you will see that many of those things that I will show you, more or less you know them. But when you get them into this organized order, it can be very interesting. I will not cover those things that, or I will try to avoid to cover those things that my mentor Zare Markovski was doing on Monday. And that's why I will put now, let me see if I can put the presentation. Yeah, it's here. And okay. Is everything okay over there?
If you want to show something from your computer, please share screen.
Yeah, I'm sharing the screen.
Yeah, now it's perfect.
Can't you see?
Yeah.
You can see, right?
It started.
Okay, yeah. So basically, we'll go immediately into these rules. I found all that rule book yesterday, so it was very short time to do English and then even Romanian. I was thinking to do Romanian translation, but anyway, I think I managed to just to make very short description, so it will be clear to everybody. So rule number one is that in the process of practice, we have two basic phases, teaching and improvement. Of course, that phase when we teach them, when we introduce something to the players is the shorter one. And the one where we improve them is is a phase that doesn't stop even when they reach the seniors. And I have, since I'm coaching seniors, I have a lot of players. I had few players this year that no matter their age, they were part of this. I could see how they work on their individual skills. Second rule is that the fundamentals are the basics for the game, and it's most important to work on individual technical skills. So no matter how tactical practices are good, they can never replace the work on the individual skill. What this means? I mean, first, I heard one of you the other day asking question to Zaret that he has 3 practices a week. So when you have 3 practices a week, I mean, if you don't have enough practices, probably all you do some, or you work individual as a warm-up, and then you go basically on some 5-on-5. What is most important is, especially in this age where you work with the kids, we speak mostly until they reach age of 15, is to put all the emphasis on fundamentals, on the basic techniques, on the biomechanical aspects of all those skills. And of course, since you all compete into some competitions and you want your team to win, and we will discuss that a little bit later, yeah, you need to work some 5-on-5, some tacticals. But what is written last, you must know, and you must remember all the time that the technique is the basic of the tactics. So this is one of the rules that I saw many of these coaches in MZ at the beginning struggling with. It's first we must make distinction what is basic technique and then what's functional technique. Basic technique is basically when you teach, let's say, for example, when you teach your player how to do a screen. That's a basic. We speak here again, I'm telling you about the biomechanical aspects of those, or whatever, or shoot, or passing the ball. So once you teach them this basic technique, then you can move to the functional technique. What's functional technique? It's like implementing those basic skills into the game of basketball, into real game. So that means if we speak about screens, it's the timing of the screen, how to open after the screen, and so on and so on. So I've seen many coaches, especially I'm telling you, I have seen coaches here because I live here and I grew up here in Macedonia, that were immediately on day 1, on day 5, on the first 2 weeks, immediately they would go into this functional drills for functional technique. 4. And very, very important, we can never forget to work on making the players better people at the same time while teaching them basketball. For the young players, the pedagogical approach is crucial, and basketball is a physically demanding sport, but we need to develop their psychological, social, and mental qualities as well. That means mostly, as here we speak also about not just introducing the game of basketball to them, but explaining them a lot of situations that they face in the real life. Let's speak first here about the role of the coach into all this, because you must, for example, establish the relation with some interaction with your players, and how well players listen to you and how well the players understand you as a coach has a significant impact on how a team will play. And also on the opposite side, how well we as a coaches listen to our players and how well we try to understand our players, especially their perspective, very, very largely determines the quality of our athletes and coach relation. So every time we speak about communicating with a player, we must know that effective communication requires sender, a source, and then involves a message, and involves a receiver. And for a coach, a critical goal is to maximize his credibility with players. And I don't speak about only credibility with senior players. So I speak even with the kids, because don't think that the kids cannot recognize a lot of things, especially as they start to grow up. And that's why the most important thing for one coach, and I will speak later about this, is the knowledge, because the credibility comes from having that knowledge. So here we speak about patience, because the development of every skill requires time, and we have to be very persistent, and we have to be very patient, and we have to gradually introduce all those elements to the kids. And when we speak about patience, you must know that players will become more coachable if they think that your focus, that your emphasis is on helping them, even if you use criticism in that. So even if you involve criticism, because they become more coachable when they believe the coach can help them, when they believe that the coach wants to help them. So when we criticize the players, and most of us understand that by criticizing means let's go and scream at the players, but by screaming, I guarantee you don't achieve anything. You can see, for example, you don't need to go to see, okay, they are coaches, it's EuroLeague coaches and all that, but let's go where we are basically right now in Romania, and you can see that, I don't know, 7 out of 8 coaches in Romania first division, they're not screaming at their players during the game. Maybe even 8 out of 8. And this new school of coach behavior is taking over that old school, and it will be prevalent in my opinion, will prevail in the future. Because I remember one of my first clinics in the States, it was Chuck Daly. At that time, I think just retired from coaching. He was the coach of that team of Detroit Pistons that I know now, since everybody is watching Last Dance. You've seen, and he was talking about this role of the coach, and he was basically saying that we as a coaches have to remember that the key for us is to remember that players allow us to coach them. In simple words, players makes us better coaches, because the player must want at the first place the players must want to be coached by you. And on the opposite side, you as a coach must work at making players to want to listen to you and to be coached by you. So when we speak about this, I will just go very fast. How you make your players, and I speak since the youngest age that you coach. How you make those players want to to play for you. First, you must explain them what's behind your rules, what's behind your strategies. You must get to know them by talking to them. I don't speak here by talking largely, but at least to pay some part of the day of the week to try to talk to all of them at least for 1-2 minutes, and not to be on a team meeting, because I mean, if you play basketball, when you're a player and when you're on a team meeting, you never say what you think. I mean, basically, you sit there on those chairs and listen to the coach who is delivering you some information. And every time there is a question, yeah, maybe you decide to ask something, but most of the time you don't decide to express yourself. So you need to find time to communicate to them. That's the way how to make those players to want to play for you. And very important is to know how much those players can take a criticism. I mean, there are players that you can criticize, and by criticizing them, motivate them and make them better. But there are players who, when you criticize them, basically just go into some hole and they even perform worse than before. So you must know how to deal with every of those players, and that the only way you can do that is to get to know your players. And of course, very important is to show them honesty, to be honest to them, to be loyal to them, to show that you care about them. And this is not only about on the court issues, but about their school, their personal lives. So you need to find a way that that player in UC, not only a coach for basketball, but somebody that he can confide with, and he can share his problems and all that. And last thing, and we move to number 6, never emotionally beat up your players when you are losing. It's better to criticize them when you win the game, but you don't play the manner you want, than when you lose the game and then you go in the locker room and throw everything into them just because you're upset. And more or less, this is connected to the previous one. We must encourage the players on a daily basis to listen to their coaches, to have maximum focus and to give maximum effort at every practice. Especially important, especially this is important when that player moves to play for the seniors, because I've coached. I mean, now I'm in Romania. I have been in Romania 3 years, so I coach under this under 23 rules, bunch of your young players. And for example, having maximum focus at practice is something that they really struggle with. And also give maximum effort at every practice. When they don't want to give this maximum effort, we are saying they're lazy. There is no lazy player. I mean, it's just habits that you obtain since youngest age. Exactly, I speak now to the junior coaches, something that you have to teach them, so we don't go and complain after 10 years of that player is lazy one. Number 7 is that the complicated skills can be learned if the kids master the simpler skills. Of course, the rule for everything in life. And later, slowly to incorporate those skills into more complex skills. It sounds very simple, but I know a lot of coaches, especially now in the YouTube era and all those information that are available through internet, go on internet, see some drill, and then put the drill on the court on practice same night. And I'm telling you, I've seen a lot of, even last summer, I was watching a lot of our national team practices, Macedonian national team practices. When I could see that drill, which is designed for players with much bigger skills that they have, and it's tough. It's mentally challenging. It's physically challenging. It's also very tough for the coach because it becomes chaos on the court. So gradualism is very, very important into your job, what you work. 8, if some simple skills are not well taught and mastered, we should go back until we learn that particular skill. Again, you will ask me, I'm sure, the question, how should I do that when I don't have enough practice times? And that's very, very, I mean, maybe that's the essence of the problem that we have here in Macedonia, that you have in Romania, because that practice time, those lack of facility for practice, sharing the same gym with 10 other sports, it's basically what kills us, what kills the development of those kids. And I'm telling you, I don't know how it's possible, but Zara was talking about 5 o'clock practices, okay, but maybe not 5, but 7 o'clock practices or 8 o'clock before they start school. It's something that you should all consider. And if I speak honestly, even now, especially this year in Craiova, I had practices at 7 o'clock whenever the gym was busy with some volleyball games or concerts or whatever is going on in all those big gyms. Of course, we don't just share the gyms with other sports, we share the gyms with million other events. Details. Basketball is a game of detail. You should never forget to pay attention to details. We should never pay, as a coach in the senior teams, to pay attention on all those details, because there are difficult times. I mean, I don't know. It's a game. Something happens. You cannot find solution for the tactic of the opponent coach. So when you don't know what to do, when your tactic is not working, now I speak about a little bit older players and senior, you need to go back to the basics. I don't know if they pressure you and if they don't allow the pass to go through, you must go to the basic. I don't know, weak cut, try to get open, some backdoor passes, something that will beat them in order to discourage the opponent from their intention on that particular game. So yeah, I'm telling you, and I'm telling my players all the time, when we don't know what to do, just go back to the basics, and basics are in those details. Now, about coach to player communication. Never humiliate or offend a player if they cannot learn some skill, because behind every player there is a work of coach, and that coach is our colleague, no matter in which part of the world or of the country. It's somebody that we share the same destiny, and we basically eat the same, what we say here, we eat the same bread. And when we speak about this coach to player communication, you must understand that in this interaction doesn't mean you must give your players unconditional acceptance and to be very genuine. But unconditional acceptance does not mean to accept their negative behaviors. Just means that you must be committed to help that person, no matter what the person does. We all make mistakes, and I mean, even the best coaches make mistakes, but we don't want to be screamed at from our management because we are doing some mistake. You should share. Again, I'm telling you, unconditional acceptance doesn't mean not criticizing them, but you should work to help the player, and and you should never stop helping him, no matter is he on a bad day or a bad month, or he's the one who turned the ball over and you lost the game because of that. But when we speak about unconditional acceptance, you must understand, you must be able to criticize, and you must have a discipline. Okay, when speaking psychologically, there are ways to how to criticize. Americans are saying always do that sandwich method, which means say something good and then put the negative things in the middle, and then also end with something good, which for us is very difficult because, yeah, we are on the Balkans and we are a different culture. It's than the Americans, but every time you can say something good after the criticism, it will mean a lot to the player. 11 is that every technical skill requires as much time to be learned as any tactical skill. It's very simple here. I mean, I don't know, should we go into this, but every tactical skill is based on we spoke in rule number 1 or 2. It's based on basic technique. Here we discuss about, I mean it's a rule again on individual practices, and I'm telling you it's extremely important to work individually with your players. And I'm telling you, I know it's difficult. I know that you have groups of 15 players probably, so you cannot work individually because individual practice with more than 4 players or 5 players on one side, it's basically waste of time. And I know that again, I will tell that you have problem with practice times and everything, but my advice is do whatever you can do to find some time at least to work individually with those players that you think that can move to the next level, that have talent, that want to work, that you see that they can become a player. I've seen a lot of players. I mean, usually that's how we work. We take players from juniors and put them in the first team. And I've seen a lot of players, for example, it's not criticism, but what I see, for example, in Romania, players that move to the senior team, they don't know how to pass the ball. That means that basically one element that you really need to spend much more attention during the practice is that passing. And of course, here we can speak about defense, but I understand the player who comes to my team is the best player of under 18 or under 20 team. So when you have a good player who can score 30 or 40 points per game, of course you will pay more attention to his offense than to his defense. But then when they meet the reality, when they meet that players are attacking them, for example, last year we had a rule that we don't switch guard to guard, which sounds crazy, but every time we would do that switch with some junior player, with some young player, the more experienced players would attack that mismatch. On 13, this is for everybody who works with the kids, especially here we speak about those ages 10, 11, 12. You are required to perform and to show those drills to the kids, because for us who work with the seniors, yeah, you can go on the board, you can draw, you can explain the drill by words, you can explain what you want. It's much easier, but to the kids, you must show that to them. Or if you cannot perform that, you must find one player who is good enough to show those, to perform that skill with precision and with very, very huge emphasis on details. And you will see how I speak today. I will always speak about those details. The most important thing for me in youth basketball. Okay, this is something that can be discussed, but since I'm basically interpreting something that I heard and that we try to implement as our system. Here, the coach said that number of drills per practice should never exceed 5. And very soon I will connect with this. With this 14, I have another rule that I will connect and then I will discuss. 15, never implement more than 20% of new elements and skills in a single practice. The repetition of elements and skills must be continuous. We spoke about that, so that the players can improve from one practice to another. I'm teaching here. We have some educational courses for young coaches, and I teach over there. Each coach must finish. Each coach who doesn't have a proper education must go to this educational system that we established with our University of Sport, Faculty of Sport. And there is a kid, very young coach, like 20 something, and he asked me to go to his practice. This happens this February when I was with the national team. So it was Sunday night. We had some game. I went to his practice. I think he put the kids in the gym just to make the practice because it's Sunday night. And then the first drill, we speak here about the kids who were born, I think, 2008 or 2007. The first drill is ball handling, and then he keeps asking from those players crossovers between legs, behind back, all in one. And I told you earlier, complete chaos in the gym. And inability to do the new skill because suddenly you show the players too many new skills leads to frustration of those players. Leads to frustration of coach. He starts screaming. Players got even more scared from that screaming. So yeah, I saw his practice and I remember even that time this rule, very, very important rule. Now this is what I wanted to tell you. It's connected to that rule 14. The young players cannot maintain their focus. Old players cannot maintain their focus for a long period of time. Young, it's even worse. And that's why we should change the drills and the tasks more often. I mean, I know, put senior players to watch a video for 1 hour. After 30 minutes, nobody is listening to you. Put them to do a drill, 15, 20 minutes, same drill, even if it's a warm-up drill. They tend to lose all their focus and I mean, just do it mechanically because you keep them too long. So you need to make them enjoy the practice and have some fun while learning something. Changing the tasks, it's important in this process. 17. It's a very thin line between the time of necessary time to make corrections and the time when you just don't make any correction at all, and with the amount of just making the practice a seminar where you as a coach just talk and not any work at all is done. It's a very thin line, and practicing without corrections. And I don't want to say 70, but for sure I'm sure that 60% of coaches are trying just to make the practice as much effective and intense because of those reasons we spoke, especially the time for practice. Probably it's either 60 minutes or 90 minutes that you have in those gyms, and then you stop correcting them. And the moment you stop correcting them, you are making as big mistake as you start just talking and doing that kind of we call this clinic coaches that just talk and okay, it's somehow, sometimes we as a coaches want to show players how much we know basketball and to show our knowledge, but it's a wrong way to do on the court. 18. And here is what I was speaking about, my experience with defense with the junior players in Romania. The aggressiveness in defense improves the elements of offense. And even if you have a kid who at age 14, at age 16 is scoring 30, 40 points, you must know that once he comes to us, to the senior teams, he cannot be the one who scores 40 points. Zara was talking, you will not lose a game if you use a player, 18-year player for 3 minutes. Of course you will not lose the game. But he must know that only on American movies can happen to go from the bench and score and won the game. But basically when you go to those 3 minutes, that kid must know that he's there to do some special job. And special job for us is play defense. Stop somebody, make some tactical foul, take some rebound. So if they are not prepared by you into doing this, they're struggling. And you know, they struggle, and very, very soon, that's why a lot of them decide to quit basketball at age 20, 21, 22. We have many cases, and I know I spoke to a coach of me, it happened to me, to a colleague of me, and it happened to me as well. Why I'm not playing? You're not playing defense. Okay, if you don't play me, I will quit. It happened to me, it happened to another coach this year, and I heard that at least 3-4 more times in my career. If you don't do this, I will quit. Okay, quit. 19. We always perform the drills first in a smaller area. That's probably we speak about 1/4 of the court. Then we move to the bigger area. And then when we move to the bigger area, probably 3/4 or full court, we should also shorten the time, and because that will influence and that will improve the quickness. And they will, for sure, they will improve their decision making. 20. Since I'm running out of time. Every practice shall have its goal. So the drill must be designed that way they shall be goal oriented. I mean, everything you do basically should be with a goal. Beginning of the season, probably all of us, all of you set some goals. I usually set 7 goals to my team that are like goals that we must keep during the season. Some are defensive goals. Some are just behavior goals of behavior in terms not to find excuses and not to make excuses and just to be focused on every next game, not to be focused on something at the end of the season. But of course, that's long-term goals. We have mid and we have short-term goals, of course. So when we speak about goals of the practices, for example, every practice should be oriented to some short-term goal. Coach is obliged to prepare every practice and to analyze his or her previous practices. Also, I have seen, and probably it happens, but you must come in the gym with a prepared practice, with the drills that you want to work, well planned, time organized, so you can do everything you want in the time that you want to, that you have as a practice. And of course, that paper isn't just not to use it and just throw it away. Keep it organized, because once in a while you will always have to go back and see what have you done on those practices. 22. And I know this happens, it happens everywhere, in every country, especially in us smaller basketball countries. Never work with the young, tall kids at the beginning as centers, especially not with their back to the basket. And you spoke to Zara about this, so I will not dwell too much on this issue. very connected to the previous one. Never teach a certain player to play only on one spot on the team. You ask questions to Zare, what's the age when you must start differentiating, dividing the roles? He said 14. I agree with him. Just I will maybe make a more precise. The moment they exit that under 14 team, probably you should start going into those roles. I heard that this is zone defenses in Romania are forbidden, so I agree totally with this. This is something that we didn't have for a long time in Macedonia, and that we push too much. We focus our team just to play man-to-man defense, no matter what. I speak when we were introducing this program these rules to our team. It's very difficult. Of course, you can hide always into some help from first pass or some traps, or you don't get experienced referees there. It's very difficult for them to recognize when it's zone, when it's just man-to-man with help from the strong side and whatever, but try to keep as much man-to-man defense as possible. And also for me, very important, we all have problems. Okay, we have problems, I don't know, with the management at home. Some of you have another jobs. But the moment you step on the court, you forgot all those problems. You must be enthusiastic. You must be optimistic. You must be always ready to put something new. As I told you, to make that practice fun for the players, to make them enjoy that practice. So don't think they don't see. I mean, I talk to a lot of players. I mean about experienced players, and they're telling me when they would see their coach get in the locker room before the game in a full panic mode. So players see that. No matter that we think that they don't see, they see that. And also when they grew up, they comment that between them as well. So try to be always enthusiastic and optimistic. And I will finish with one conclusion. That where we discuss about the vision. You must have a clear idea what are you working on, what those young players should look like, and what skills they need to have once they reach the senior team. And now here, I know that I will get questions for this, but it's about this type of goals that that are called in psychology outcome or competitive goals. When we did this project with MZ, and I'm telling you, it turned to be a very, very successful project. And based on that school, 7 championships in 8 years, and I can guarantee that there are not more than 5 million euros spent on those 7 championships. Never have, I mean, yes, you have those competitions in under 14, under 13, even younger. Forget about setting competitive goals to the players on those competitions. Once we start into under 16, that's the age when FIBA starts the official competitions, by the way. So you compete as a national team on those. You must also learn the players in your teams that it's important to win. And as you move, as they grow older, then wins become a goal. Because again, I'm telling you, you produce. I was talking to one Romanian coach this year quite a lot, and I told him, you need to produce the wins, the players for the first team. More important than to beat some game in under 17 or under 18. Unfortunately, some of the managements don't understand that as well. But what if you have 5 championships and then you have 0 players in the when they grow up, you have 0 players from your team that became a senior player. And I can tell you, because I had luck to work with a lot of good young players. I speak age 19, 20. It's million times bigger pleasure when you see that player that you coach as a kid and you gave him a chance to start playing basketball, but you gave him a real chance, not just being on the bench, because being on the bench is not a chance. And then he grew up and go and play somewhere. I had a player that played this year in France, first division. I had another player that played second division in France. Doesn't matter, it's not EuroLeague level, but it's a pleasure when you see that those guys play. So really much more important to have that pleasure than to say that you have 5 championships in under 12 or under 14. Just, I hope that you work with managements who understand that, or if you are if you're owner of your school, what you work, then you don't even have to care about those wins in young ages. So basically, now if we have some questions, what's the time? We have 10-15 more minutes, so I will answer your questions.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Andre from Yash. I was the one asking with the situation with the 3 practices per week, right? Yeah, it's tough to do, but I really want to know one thing, because basically you covered all of my questions with your presentation. Is it, or will it be available for download, this 25 rules?
Yes. Can you get my number from Coach Center or from Alin, because he has my number, and text me immediately after this, and I will send it to you by WhatsApp.
Oh, thank you. That was really fun, to be honest.
I mean, I can give you my number here now, but let's keep it not that public. So
yeah, sure.
Ask Alin, please, or Coach Center, and text me immediately as we finish.
Thank you so much. That was it was a very pleasant and so informative. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Coach.
Hello.
Alex from Târgu Jiu. And I want to ask, it is good at the end of the training, when we draw the conclusion, to criticize the mistake of one player in front of everybody.
We all do that, okay? We all do that. I mean, the moment is when I do that, for example, by myself, is the moment when I go home and I regret that I did that. So what's the difference between criticizing him in front of the 12 players or just pulling him aside, sit on the bench and talk to him for 2 minutes? What's the difference between this and that? Because, yeah, I told you, there are players, most of the players will understand that as your attempt to humiliate him. Yeah. So try to avoid. I spoke, last night, I spoke to a Romanian coach. Last night I spoke. He knows who is, it doesn't matter. And he was telling me, this player was doing this to me. And I was like, he would go out, and I know that he would go out. And I was like, okay, did you ever tell him that? And he's like, no. You must tell them. The issue, the point is how. It's a halftime at locker room. yes, of course, you cannot speak separately, but it's a practice and you don't have anything after that. Spend 5 minutes with that guy. I'm doing that a lot. I know you're friends with Porter. Ask Porter.
Okay.
Coach.
Hi, coach.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Mihai from Deva. Quick question. Which is the most important principle for you in man-to-man defense? Thanks.
Well, main. Being able to contain your player, of course. Because I told you, you want to push to the baseline or you want to push to the middle, depend of your concepts that you run. But at the end of the day, you must do some one-on-one defense, even if you are getting help. No matter if you are doing rotations from the weak side or you are helping from first pass, you must not allow to get beaten. So being able, if you ask me, being able to contain your player in one-on-one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, coach. Flavius Lăpuște from Cluj. I'm approved with the result is not important, but how you manage psychologically, because every kid who comes to the gym, he wants to win. Actually, he's practicing, he's having fun, but during the years, the center under 12, they have this wish. They go in a park. They come here before the practice and they have one-on-one and they want to win. How you manage the pressure? No, it's not a pressure. How you manage when you don't succeed, you don't have results according to your rule. That is not important to win and you don't have results. Happens often when a lot of kids, because they don't win, they collapse. How you manage that with your rule?
Okay, let me tell you, I had with my team this year 8 losses in a row. 7 in the championships, 1 in the cup, or 2 in the cups, and 6 in the championship. How? Very difficult. But if you are focused on what you do, if you explain to the players that it's important to win, yeah, you know, coach, you play, I don't know, cards or whatever, or tennis, and you want to win, correct? Everything you do in your life, you want to win. That's how we are made as a people. I mean, if there is a kid who doesn't want to win, he will never become a player at the end of the day. But you must put the focus on the process. And if they understand that the process is to keep going and to keep growing as a team, as individuals, as players, that by doing that they will become a better players compared to somebody who is playing better. I mean, you know, at your age, what age do you coach? 14, 15, 16?
Under 12, but
Under 12. You have one
usually
kid who, sorry.
Usually the team who's winning on this age, they have kids who are good. I mean, they're not going to win if they're worse than other teams. So they still have potential. But for the players who grow up individual step by step, and they have results when they're under 18, a lot of people in that moment when they lose, okay, when they lose, it happens some breakdown. And I'm interested about that moment, the specific game. I'm not talking about that my politics, that I want to develop them until under 12. A lot of people quit because they're not, okay, it's a selection, this too, but maybe some tip for that.
But I'm telling you, under 12. Okay, I don't know. I mean, it's too young, I swear. But let's say it's under 13, under 14. You find 2 fat guys who are a little bit taller because they start their puberty earlier than the others, and you beat everybody. Correct?
Yeah, this is exceptions. I'm talking about the, the fat guys.
And that those guys will become a players. You've seen million of them. You played before. I know you as a player. you saw those guys even when you was a junior player. They're taller than everybody. They already start getting earlier in the puberty, hairy legs and all that stuff. And they're stronger than somebody who is very skinny, very morphologically good looking player. So yeah, you explain that to him. That you will be player, he will never be a player. I know, on the other hand, if you don't win, players are going to the teams that are winning. Correct? And it's very balanced, but I'm telling you, this is more that you have to talk to the parents as well. Focus, my tip is focus on the process.
Okay, thank you.
If you dwell on the losses, if you lose, I'm not telling you go and lose all the possible games. Yeah, try to win. Do everything as a coach to win. But if you lose, don't go and get crazy at them. When I lose, sometimes I don't speak to my players for 2 days and stuff like that. No, unnecessary. Just, again, enthusiastic, next day, practice, talk to them, explain what happened. No need to offend them and to scream. Explain the process, focus on that. This is the process, this is what we want, this is what we want. I mean, just get into their heads that the process is important, not the result.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if I help you with my answer, but I'm telling you what I do with my players that are 10, 15 years older than yours. But I guess if it works with older, can work with kids as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
One quick question, Coach. Hello, Christy from Sibiu.
Yeah, just I cannot see you and I cannot hear you well.
You can hear me now?
Let's say yes. I cannot see you as well, I guess.
In the
Trebuie să
conclusion,
vorbești mai tare. Try to speak more.
if we are building a junior to score 40 points a game, and you select him to be a part of your team, and then you said you cannot play him because he doesn't play that well in offense because of the aggressivity of the defense, and you put him just to play defense, and you give him minutes by the defense, not by the offense. Isn't this two things that go head to head? Because you select him because you saw him scoring 40 points. And that was maybe our main goal on his development.
Yeah, of course, I will select in the first team player who scores 40 points on your team, not somebody who scores 4 points. But now we speak about when we introduce those players in the first team, correct? I speak about introducing that kid at the age of 18. When you give him 3 minutes, what do you want that kid to go 3 minutes on the court and to make 5 shots and miss all the shots because, of course, the defense will be focused on the other 4 players and we let him shoot on purpose. We'll let him shoot. And if he misses the first and try a second one, and if he misses the second one, he will never make the third one after that. Or you just want to gradually put him into that. So when you get him this, what we call minutes on portion, 2, 3, 4 minutes per game, explain him, you play defense. When he starts playing more, 10, 15, give him some role. You know, under 23 rule in Romania. 2 types of players that we see. Players who have a role on their team, so that are allowed to run some pick and roll, to take some initiative to do, and players who just stay in the corner and watch the 4 foreigners playing 4-on-4. How many games did you see? How many teams did you see since the implementing of this rule that they play 4-on-4 in offense and put that kid in the corner? So it's very important to give him a role. But I'm telling you, not the first time when he starts getting 3-4 minutes to tell him, I expect from you 40 points.
Yeah, but on those 3-4 minutes, you can have a 38-year-old tired player missing that 5 shots. The same thing. That's a tactical decision by the coach who is shooting the ball.
Yeah, but when Porter Troop, let's say he's 36, when Porter Troop misses the first 2 shots, I know that he might score the first the third or the fourth or the fifth. Or if I see that he is not scoring, he is sitting on the bench. For him, it's clearly. For him, I know what I will do. But that kid, I speak in terms what Zara was talking, let him play 3-4 minutes, he will not lose the game because you give him 3-4 minutes per game. He will not get back on the court, or he will get back on the court next half, after the halftime. So you don't need him in that mental state.
Okay, I understand. Thank you, coach.
Thank you.
Hello, coach. I'm Alin Softel. Thank you for your presentation. Here, most of us are junior coaches, and our goal is to grow the junior player to play at the senior. My question is, what we need to prepare, especially the juniors players, so you can take him in your team and play even in the 3 or 4 quarter when it's not mandatory to use the under 23 players. How that the players should look like?
So I'm telling you for immediately, decision making. Basically, when you coach a player at your age, I mean not at your age, at your level, at youth level, what we speak now, basic techniques and details, that's a repetition, which is basically muscle memory. American says you must go 10,000 times to repeat one thing to become automatic. So you are basically trying to make their moves automatic to learn that move. But at some point, you must teach them to make decisions. First, we speak about simple decision making. I don't know. If the ball is in your left hand, go for a layup. If the ball is in my right hand, go for a pull-up jumper. If you see number 2, do this. If you see now, so we speak about very, very simple decision making. And then, of course, we speak about some cognitive development. What I see are players who are not used to make decisions. And when you play this basketball and to give him a role, as I gave to one player this year, to play the ends of the game with that player, you must, first thing that you appreciate in that player is when you see that he's able to make those, that he is a good decision maker. So and decision making is a process also that you must start teaching them how to make those decisions. And I'm telling you, in my basketball, I mean in every basketball, when to shoot, when to pass, when to penetrate, when to stop for a pull-up jumper, when to close out and let him beat you, when to cover his shot, and all those stuff. They're not used to think. And you know how we say, he's stupid. Same like he is lazy. Then I do, and I make some tests I make IQ tests every year with my players. And then that player, who everybody's saying he's so stupid, he scores extremely well IQ, he makes extremely well IQ tests. So what that means, that basically he's a smart guy who has never been taught to make decisions. So decision making, to answer your question in one word.
Thank you very much. And I have one more question here in the chat. Why you don't recommend more than 5 drills if you have 2 topics?
Now, we speak when you, well, I mean, let me tell you, when I work individually with the players, I don't cover more than 3 topics per practice. That means that, let's say you cover, I don't know, layups. I'm not saying show them different, that kind of layup, I don't know, reverse layup, inside hand layup, this, that, 2-stop layup, do that. But consider that at 1 drill. And then move to something else. Just don't go in a practice that you will just keep them with 2 drills. Or when you give them 10 different drills, how much is your practice? 60 minutes? I'm asking you, how much is your practice normally? 60 or 90 minutes?
I don't know. I read the question on the chat. I think
okay.
it's 90 minutes.
Let's say
Okay,
90 minutes. Let's say 90 minutes.
90
Let's
minutes.
say 90.
So in those 90 minutes, let's say that you spend 30 to 35 minutes in a good warm-up, correct? So you have left 85 minutes. When you divide those 85 minutes on 5 drills, put the breaks there, water breaks, and put the part when you talk. That's, let's say, 12 to 15 minutes per drill. More than enough. 7-8 minutes is too less. 20 minutes or 25, you make the practice boring for the players. That's my explanation.
Can I have another question?
Yeah, sure.
So I agree with you on decision making, and basically that's probably the hardest and the most fun part for most of the coaches. But so let's say we're in a game, and like it doesn't really matter, so win or lose. But how many failures would you accept if the player, like, he makes the changes, he tries to do something, you know? So he does better each day, but not to the point where you can say, hey, good job. Am I making myself clear?
Yeah, but you will lie to him.
No, I mean, then I didn't express myself correctly. So how many failures would you tolerate before you bench the guy for making stupid decisions? So he takes the decision. I encourage him, yeah, go take that decision, even if it's failure. Okay, good. But how many would you allow him to do before you go like, okay, you need some time to think and sit him on the bench?
You know, here you have the factor of trust. I'm asking you the opposite question. How much do you trust that player?
Oh, that is, I understand it. Yeah, that is strong. That's a strong question.
Do you trust him a lot? Do you trust him?
Yeah,
If you trust him a lot, you will let him do. Until when? I had cases when a player destroyed my game. By giving him, let's go, he will score at the end, and he destroyed at the end my game.
Right.
That's
so
my decision. Should I blame him after that in the locker room? You fucked the game up. I'm not allowed to speak this. Okay. Did you lost the game? No, I will never. I mean, it's my decision.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you always, if you put somebody that you don't trust, or if you have a minimum trust in him, yeah, you will bench him after first 2-3 mistakes. I had a game this year, Pitești, December, somebody before Christmas, Diculescu, 0 points all game long. And then we are coming back from -14. And I think that it was -2 when I told him, if the moment you stay open, you will take that shot and you will win the game. Okay, the ball didn't get to him, but I'm telling you, it's a player that I trusted, that I had unlimited, not unlimited, but extremely big trust in. And then on the other side, there are players that, of course, you will tell him, don't even think about shooting. If you get the ball, try to get inside, pass the ball outside. So the answer is in my question. The answer to your question is in my question. How much do you trust that player? How many times in 2 years I gave, I don't know, Porter or Monea Prat this year the ball and hoping that at the end they will be able to perform. Yeah, the basketball, it's unfortunately you don't win always.
Yeah, so there's no magic formula for this either, right?
We all want to have perfect season, you know, but nobody has perfect season.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, coach. I'm Răzvan from Cluj. I would like to ask you how many individual practices you recommend for under 16, under 18? Individual practices per week.
At least 3.
Thanks.
At least 3.
And maximum?
At least 3. Maximum? Well, let's say, let me modify now, because it seems I'm asking you more than, what do you do day after game? Do you practice day after game? or not?
If game is on Saturday, we don't. If it's on Sunday, we make some recovery practice.
Yeah, because that's the day when you can make individual practice. No matter how many. So that's
I know
one.
players.
Let me
players
tell
who
you
don't
what
play
I
a
was
lot,
doing.
they practice.
Sorry, Razvan.
Players who don't have a lot of minutes, they practice for sure next day.
Okay, but for example, the players who played a lot of minutes, you can also put them in some process of practice. Let's say, you know, have you heard about those drills of challenge of balance, for example?
Yes.
Not maybe with 16 years old, but with 17, 18, you can start doing that. That's not difficult practice, but if you do this and that and that and that, it's 45 minutes. Plus some stretching. You don't make him more tired, but you keep him active in the gym. And it's useful because, you know, when you come on those situations, those layups, getting pushed, scoring out of balance, it's very important. We watch those players. I can see now some Kara on the video.
And connected to...
You see those players EuroLeague, NBA, how they score out, and you say how they do that. They do that because they practice that. So what I would do, for example, that will be one, and then probably I will do 3 more, let's say. That kind of one and 3 more.
Okay.
If you have, and you are Cluj, you have opportunity, I'm sure you can.
No, we work 6 o'clock in the morning a lot. 4 days per week.
I was coming with Niculescu this morning, this year at 7. I guarantee, ask him.
I know, I believe you.
It's not a legend.
Yeah, but related to my questions, you give them during the training process, you give them 1 day off in 1 week or not?
Can you repeat, because I can see some other microphone and...
Yeah, related to my question, you gave to young players day off during a week or not?
No.
No, not at all.
No.
Okay.
How many times you practice per day? Twice or once?
But depends. If you work individual, usually they have like 5 collective practice, 3 individual, and 2 or 3 time lifting room.
It's great. That's basically what I'm trying to achieve with my players as well. It's great. I mean, it's good program.
So in that case, you get them day off or not?
Again, I'm telling you, usually not. Okay, I was giving day off to Porter, Troop, to Monea, Prat. I was giving. To the others, no. Even to Niculescu, I was not giving him a day off. I was not making him run like crazy up and down, but we would do maybe some, I don't know, agility drill, but very, very, very limited, just to keep him doing something. Yes, I was, do. If you have a gym, and I'm sure over there you have, do, why not?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
What, they will be tired for the game? Come on.
For sure not, but they come with
they are
private
kids, they can run,
kind of
they can run up and down.
I know. Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Okay, Coach Marcel Tanter is speaking. Thank you for accepting our invitation. It was a very, very nice clinic. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. And we expect you to have a bigger role in educating our young coaches, because they have a lot to learn from you.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you for the invitation. I mean, we spoke yesterday and I told you I'm always available. Hopefully in 2-3 weeks when I get back there, we'll meet and we'll talk. Thank you one more time for having me today.
Bye, and thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Coach. Bye.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, coach. Very nice and interesting speech.